Today we're talking about why a true INFJ needs an impressive life to be fulfilled. You might think, okay, I don't care what other people think of me. But the truth is, this part of us that is all about creating an impressive life is just ingrained in us. It's part of our identity. It's part of the way our cognitive functions are set up. And this actually leads us having a life that might look good on paper, but it doesn't really impress us. But what happens if you're able to actually bypass all of those blocks and you start creating a life that impresses you, not just others? When you do that, everything else just kind of stops. You don't care if you impress anybody. You don't care if other people think what you're doing is great or not. And it's not just an intent. This is what is happening, and you see the shift right away. Today, we're going to talk about how you can make that shift happen, and it's definitely going to catapult you to the next level in creating your INFJ Epic Life. Before we get started, I can now announce the next INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp round is launching this Saturday, August 20th. You can find all the information in the links in the description, sign up for the waiting list, get an early bird prize, and get notified once we go live. And if you're still unsure if this is for you, then we have a free masterclass here on YouTube. It's a live stream and you can all join us. As I said, all the information you find in the links in the description. I hope to see you there. So what is this impressiveness all about? If you think about it, how often has it been that other people look at your life and think, oh, this is impressive, or this is a good life, or this looks better than what you actually perceive it to be? And you might think, okay, but this is just like this imposter syndrome, right? I don't think that I'm great, but other people look at my life and say it's good or it's great. And to me, it doesn't feel like this. But it isn't the imposter syndrome. This is really when you're doing something where you're actually good at and things that you do because you love doing them. You're just not perceiving yourself to be good at it. What I'm talking about is that we very often create this life that impresses others, as in it looks good on paper, but it doesn't feel like this. And we very often think this is the way to go. Why do we think that? So let's go into our cognitive functions. The reason for this is actually our fourth function. So extroverted sensing. Extroverted sensing is all about drive. It's all about creating something out of the ordinary. It's conquering something. That's what it looks like if you're, for example, in ESTP, right? Those are the people that constantly create something new. We love this function. We just don't have it developed that much. And so it all is a combination, of course, with our other functions. Our main function, introverted intuition. So we create an idea, and that idea is always out of the box. That is just how it works by definition. Because the way our introverted intuitive mind works is we create a system out of nothing. The typical INFJ thing is you put yourself into like this black box, and then you have just a couple of informations here and there. And with this small amount of information, you create something that makes sense. So this is what we have. This is how our mind works. And then we see, okay, the thing that I value so much, but that I don't feel I have so much power over is SE. So making that, what I've created in my mind, happen in the real world. And that by default is already something that is out of the ordinary. That is not what everybody else does. Because if it's something that everybody else is doing, it is not something that we have created in our introverted intuitive mind. So we don't really care about those things. The things that pop up in our mind, the things that excite us, are something new, are impressive. It's something where people could potentially look at you and say, oh, that's a pioneer. That's somebody who went out and did something that nobody else does, or like nobody that I know of. That kind of thing. And so you might say, okay, but that's a good thing. And if I was actually interested in impressing myself, this wouldn't be a problem. Like you could say, okay, we as INFJs, we create this thing in our mind, and then we create it a second time in reality. Like that's impressive, but I'm not doing it in order to impress others. But it's not working out because we very often don't tap into SE. It's really, really hard to do that, particularly like the beginning stages. And when I'm saying it's hard, like always remember, I'm really talking about starting the process. It's about overcoming those blocks. It's about knowing that we have to create a new pathway. But once you actually start doing this, everything falls into order. It gets so much easier. But because it seems so hard, we go the default route. we go a route where we feel like it's going to give us, what we're looking for without us having to put that kind of energy into it. And how does that look like? Well, it looks like you're doing something that looks impressive, but isn't really something where you tapped into your last function for. Let me explain this. It's one thing to create something merely out of having an idea and finding a shortcut where you know very well that you're not tapping into your potential. Because your potential always, and I can only repeat myself, always includes your last function, SE. It always includes you giving it your all. It doesn't mean that you have to exhaust yourself. It does not mean that you have to act like an ESTP. It does not mean that you have to work 10 hours a day, every day. Nothing like this. But we still have to put that kind of action into it that we are able to. And as long as we're not doing that, we go to the second best option. And the second best option is I do something, like for example, I get a job that other people would look at and say, wow, that is impressive. But it doesn't feel impressive to you. And remember, this is not like thinking you're an imposter. That's a different thing. I'm talking about you knowing very well that you have potential for more. That this isn't something that, makes your heart jump up and down and get excited about. But we so often think, like, if I would really commit to that, it would just be too much work. It wouldn't be something that excites me. And the second reason why we're doing this is because we do have the hope that if we go that default route of, just doing things that are good on paper or doing things in a way where we don't exude like that much energy, we can get the fun and the excitement and this like liveliness that we're looking for. Why do we think that? Well, because we also experience a lot of emotions simply by imagining something. That's why INFJs are known to be, laid back or cerebral, because we get that, hit of endorphins or dopamine, or I don't know how they're all called, like those chemicals that are happening in our mind, but reactions that make us feel good in the moment. And we can get that just by imagining, just by daydreaming. And, this can be a very good thing because it keeps us away from negative situations. We don't always have to take action. We can actually be smart about it and say, I can just think about it. That already makes me feel good. And I take the action that is necessary. We also have to consider that one of our human needs is actually to preserve energy. And we as INFJs don't have that much energy. So, of course, it's a smart thing to say, I don't need to do all the things. I just need to do the right thing. This is my typical saying. We as INFJs, we don't have to do all the things. We just have to do the right thing. So in a nutshell, we have the hope that doing things that might impress others, is going to make us happy. And we think if we would tap into our SE, that would be too much work. We also have to consider that if you tap into SE, one thing will be for certain. People will see that you do have the capacity for it. You can take action. It's just not something that we want to do. And every single time we get the chance to putting that kind of effort onto somebody else, we will do that. That is not selfish. This is not, mean. Nothing of that sort, right? Because we have the idea and we work best with somebody who needs ideas, but is all about taking action. That's why we are drawn to so many people with extroverted sensing, because this combination really works. We can sort of guide and lay back and, really experience how things are going to be. And the other person would have to do the hard lifting, right? The extroverted sensing kind of work. The problem with this is that your mind will never ever be able to transfer everything it is about and how it feels and, what it wants to somebody else in order for them to take action. They will never ever get it to the full extent. And it's not because they're not INFJs, it's because every single person sees the world differently, our own wishes, desires, whatever it may be. And I'm not even talking about INFJs, just everybody. They're so uniquely you that the only way for you to really tap into your potential and make those things real is for you to do them. That does not mean you cannot get help. It doesn't mean that once you have established a path, you can delegate. Of course you can. But you can't rely on others making that path for you. That's something you have to do. See, this thing of us creating this life that is good on paper, it's not something we do consciously. But looking back, I can guarantee you these are things that have happened in your life more than once. Actually, probably on a regular basis. That you've created this story in your life of, okay, I have this job, this is an impressive job, or I am going to that conference, or I'm going to, move states, or I'm going to, on this adventure. And these things seem impressive to the outside. We're doing this because we feel there is this urge within us to create something extraordinary, to live an impressive life. But if we're still looking at that moment of why are people not getting what amazing thing I've created? Why are they not giving me the feedback? Why doesn't it feel like, I'm doing something impressive? Then the reason for this is because you are not tapping into your potential. No matter how impressive it might look, it's not enough. Because if it was, you wouldn't care about how it looks on the outside at all. At all. You wouldn't care about other people looking at your life and thinking that's great. And you wouldn't have this feeling in the back of your mind of something is missing. See, I'm not saying that INFJs go through life and we think, oh, I want to impress others. I don't even think that was something that was going through my mind. But it was something that I kept with me, on a subconscious level. And I see this with all the INFJs that I work with because we still have this desire to create something extraordinary. And one way to get this feeling of I'm creating something extraordinary is for somebody on the outside to mirror back to us, yes, you're doing something impressive. That's what we think, because on some level we do feel that. But what we recognize really quickly is that if this is not in correspondence with what we believe about ourselves in the first place, we're not going to believe it. We know this isn't all we can do. And so it's a vicious circle that will never lead us into the true satisfaction that we're looking for. So how do we change that? How do we make that switch? How do we say, I'm actually doing something that impresses me? We have to commit to extroverted sensing. We have to decide to become a person who from now on is going to put effort into something that is just ours, into something that's going to require drive, into something that requires physical energy, something that's going to cost you energy. And that we're not going to go about it in a way of, okay, what's the minimal amount of work I would have to do? But in a way of, what is the most I can do and still come out with, excess energy? Because it's going to require energy. When you start building something, it will cost you energy, it will cost you mental load, and you need to create, first off, enough energy to make that happen, and second of all, to get rid of so many things that you're focusing on, as in solving other people's problems or thinking about how other people are experiencing life. All of those things, we have to cut them out or minimize them, at the same time work on having as much energy as possible, and then making those things happen. So for me, it really was from a point of, I knew I would never get the satisfaction that I was looking for by doing the bare minimum. I just didn't have that hope anymore that I could get the satisfaction of, feeling like my life matters by going that route. But you don't have to get to that point. It's not that you have to lose hope in this other sense of, oh, things could work out by me just imagining things and then something will show up. It's a person or a place, and by magic, I will feel satisfied and happy, and my life will be the way I want. The way you want life to be, your INFJ epic life, it doesn't exist outside of your mind yet. So often we think, okay, it has to exist somewhere. Or if it doesn't exist, then it means it will never exist. None of these things is true. It can exist if you make that happen. It just doesn't feel like your actions will lead to that necessarily, because you have this grand idea of, oh, this is how impressive my life could be. And all the steps that you can take are small steps down here. And they're so far away from the life that you want. But the point is, Are you taking a step into the direction that you want? Because I can guarantee you, not just from personal experience, but also experiencing it through working with so many INFJs through Bootcamp and one-on-one and so on, that this is something we can all make happen. And once you start taking that path, you actually start impressing yourself. And this is, I think, the conclusion that surprised me the most, that the moment I started on my path, the moment I decided I'm going to create something out of the norm, and I'm not doing this because of, okay, this is going to give me some kind of, feedback from the outside that I'm great or anything like this, because I had already lost hope in it in a way. But it was that I said, I'm not going to give up on myself. I'm not going to give up living the life that I want. If I never reach it, I never reach it. But it's on me, because I'm taking the steps, and every single time I'm taking the steps, and know that although my extroverted sensing is limited, although I don't have the energy as other types might have, I'm doing the best that I can. And once I knew I was doing that, I was relieved. I got excited. I was happy, and I felt like I'm living this epic life from that moment on. And the more I impress myself with the choices that I'm making, the mental transformations that I've gone through, the things that I've let go of, like all of those things, they make me so proud in such a positive way that I'm way less concerned with how it looks to the outside, if people know about this, or something in that regard. And this is something that I experience with so many INFJs as well. It's a complete transformation of how you see life, and it's an exciting journey. Like, not once you've reached it, but starting the first day you're on that journey. And I believe every single INFJ gets to live their dream life if they decide to take this on. It's not about the destination, it is about the journey. If you say, okay, I'm ready for the next step, like this is my time and let's make this happen, and I want the support and I want to see how other INFJs are on that same path with me, then join the INFJ Epic Life Bootcamp. You get all the information in the links in the description. And if you're still unsure, then join the masterclass this Saturday. It's here on YouTube. It's for free. I hope I see you then, August 20th. That's also the day when the bootcamp launches. The first live call will be August 27th. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video, How the INFJ Bypasses Everyone.